Well, denominations, Baptists, Catholics, Presbyterians, Lutherans, and so on. If you looked at today's topic, you probably thought, why do I need to know about this? I get it. It seems like this might not be as important as everything else you are discussing in confirmation. And you're right. It isn't as important. But you already know lots of people who believe different things when it comes to faith in God. It might be good at least to know why. I want you to imagine your friend group over time. Do you hang out with the same group of friends you hung out with last year, or a few years ago, or even 5 years ago? Probably not. And there are reasons, right? Sometimes your friends from elementary school just aren't in your school or in your classes anymore, and you grow apart. Sometimes people move away, and sometimes you get into disagreements with friends and stop being friends because you can't agree. All of those things happen to everybody. Our friend groups changed from time to time. That's what denominations are. They are separate groups of people who decided they believed in Jesus in a different way. When these denominations happen, we often call it a split in the church. Around 1,000 years after Jesus, the Eastern Orthodox Church split from the Roman Catholic Church because they couldn't agree on the nature of the Trinity or whether you could be married and be a priest. 500 years later, Martin Luther wanted to reform, not split the Catholic Church, when he famously nailed 95 theses, things that needed to change, to the church door. At the core of his disagreement was the church charging money so that one could be forgiven by God. That doesn't sound right, now does it? Luther's protest, coupled with the invention of the printing press, led to multiple denominations. These people were called Protestants because they were protesting what the church was doing because it didn't match up with what they were reading in their Bible, which they didn't have access to before the printing press. The United Methodist Church was formed out of the Church of England, which was formed out of the Catholic Church because King Henry wanted to divorce his wife and the Catholic Church wouldn't let him. So he just made a new church. Even today, the United Methodist Church is splitting. In fact, it has split and come back together several times over the last 300 years. What were the issues? Slavery and inclusion, to name a couple. And there are non-denominational churches too. That label doesn't make any sense at all, since they too have split because they want to be different from all of the other churches who split. Whew. It can be exhausting tracking down everyone's beef. The point is, the Christian church across the world is all one church and multiple churches at the same time. When the Bible isn't particularly clear or it can be interpreted in different ways, that's when we begin to disagree and denominations form. So in a way, it is good to know what divides us. Our church is inclusive of all people. Not all churches are. We have women pastors here. Not all churches do. We baptize babies. Some churches wait until you're old enough to make that decision for yourself. Our church does both. However, all Christian churches, including ours, view Jesus as central. We all believe he is the human form of God on earth. We're all pretty aligned with what he taught and his vision of the world as becoming what God wants for us. We all recognize Jesus' death and resurrection. So just like you share memories of past friendships and may even consider those ex-friends still important to who you are today, the Christian church, all across the world, all of its denominations, is all together on Jesus, which is what matters the most.